Greetings and salutations. Welcome to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share the show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. And as much as I hate to do this, way before the season even starts, if you need gift ideas for the upcoming holidays, might I suggest a copy of Play Noir Anthology, 41 film noir-styled one-act plays written from playwrights from around the world and across the country, inspired by two high school playwrights that wrote a tongue-in-cheek film noir play starring Ben Platt prior to his winning a Tony for Dear Evan Hansen that I had the pleasure of directing when he was in high school. All that set aside, so make sure you head over to Amazon.com for a copy of that. Keep in mind that each season that we have, 7 seasons total, are all available as well individually if you don't want the whole anthology. On that note, my guest today is a playwright, actor, and director. And I'm going to need your help because I meant to ask you this before we started. Labette? Did I get that right?
What? Labette?
Labette?
Uh-huh. Labette.
Labette. Okay, there's that accent over the E, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to botch this. Her plays include Labette, a one-act which won the Encore Producers Award, Spirit of the Fringe Award, and Orgasmico Most Orgasmic Writing Award in 2014. Other plays include Stone Angels, Blowfly, Morning Glory, Baby Toes, Seducer, The Rings of Saturn, and God's Wife, as well as The Art of Yes. She's also received commissions from the Magic and Visual Artists Theater in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome June Carryl.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm better. So I'm going to, my first question is going to be a little different than usual. Do you drink coffee?
Oh, gosh, yes.
I'm glad to hear it. There you go. I'm going to humble myself. This is a Starbucks gift card.
Oh, my God. You have no idea. You've won a friend for life. You've won a friend for life. Thank you so much.
So a little background behind this. Dum Dum here botched it last week when June showed up to my door, and I didn't realize that we had this interview scheduled. And this is a humbling moment. I was quite embarrassed, and I said, "Let me at least walk you out." I'm like, "Where are you parked?" She's like, "I took the train."
Sorry,
which made it even worse. So. That's the least I could do. I should probably load up your tap card as well for fare.
It's so fine. I mean, I've been in that situation where you're like, I have no idea what day it is. I get it. It's really kind of
no, please. Again, like I said, I try to be as professional as possible, and that is got to be the most embarrassing botched moment of my life. So I appreciate it. The one thing that I'm glad that I asked about, and that's where we're going to start, is I said, how'd you get into playwriting? And you said you were a lawyer. Mm-hmm. How do you go from being a lawyer to a playwright? What's that? I got to hear the story and this journey for those listeners or viewers that I've always wanted to do that, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid to take that step, especially in a really serious career.
Yeah.
So let's hear it.
So I grew up in Denver, and my high school history teacher and my mom's best friend, we plotted what my journey was going to be. I was going to do.
Real quick, is that the same person? High school history teacher?
Two different people.
Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure that it was like,
Lejeune.
Copy, understood.
Yeah. So my high school teacher, Miss Piasek. Hi, Miss Piasek. And my mom's best friend, Lejeune, and I plotted that I was going to go to Brown University for undergrad, then I was going to go to University of Chicago for law school, and then I was going to be like a Supreme Court justice.
All right.
So, yeah.
Arranged life.
Why not? And, the first part came true. Brown happened because I saw the application and was just like, no, the intro guide.
Sure,
they send you the portfolio, and I was like, I'm going there.
What was it about that you?
It was just this half-page booklet, and it was just all green on the cover, just all this green foliage, and I just knew that's where I'm going.
Okay.
So, and then University of Chicago, because that's where Lejeune went. Got to Brown, and failed miserably. I studied political science, and I got the theory about it, couldn't keep the facts straight to save my life, and discovered, I think deep down I knew this, that I didn't really care that much, because facts and figures weren't the what I was interested in was the results of politics. That's why I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to make the world right. I wanted justice. And I found out in political science that justice and truth and winning aren't necessarily clean. I'm kind of an absolutist. There has to be an absolute right and an absolute wrong. And what I learned over the course of my time in undergrad was truth is, and now we've got a person vying for the White House who, anyway, truth is relative.
Sure.
And I couldn't bear that. I think that my favorite college story, and also the thing that sort of changed things for me, was that I took a products liability course my senior year. And it was great. It was fun, and everybody took this class, and it was cool. There was Beiser, and there was products liability, and this products liability class, everybody took it. For our final projects, we had to write either a legal brief or a legal brief, some kind of a legal brief. I, dating myself, had watched L.A. Law, and there was an episode where a guy was unhappy with the cattle that had been the progeny of a sale.
Sure.
And I was like, that's gonna be what I do. Faulty bull semen. I was like, I think part of me just didn't take it seriously. And so, faulty bull semen, I wrote a legal brief about bull semen. Faulty bull semen and faulty cattle coming about as a result. I got a AAA+.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, this dude walked up to me as he was collecting his paper, and he saw the AAA+, and he was like, that is so cool. And it was just devastating, because I had made the thing up. I had made the truth up. I found the right precedents. I'd found the right cases, and simply made the truth mean what I said it meant. And I was like, okay, I can't deal in a world like that. And it didn't help that all of my classmates, I was on the fencing team, and a lot of my classmates came back from their first year in law school exhausted and miserable. And I was like, this, everywhere I turned, this just looks worse and worse and worse. So I just, I couldn't do it.
Well, good for you for kind of being honest with yourself about it,
Better late than never. Yeah, because people will go for years doing something they don't believe in. And I think a lot of
lifetimes.
Lifetimes. I think that, my mom died when I was 19, and
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. I learned from her example that, you got to go for what you want. And there is literally no point in making yourself miserable, because life is short and you get one. So, it was just like I slept through the last round of LSATs and was just like, okay, you know what, June, you're not doing this. Transitioned to English Lit, took a year's worth of literature courses, then took a survey course in drama. And my professor walked up to me one day because I'd written a play for my midterm. Again, I don't know what was going on in my brain, but there was just this acting out thing that I was doing. Yeah. And it was Paula Vogel, and she said, hey, do you want to join my playwriting class? And I was like, sure. Because I could tell stories. What I had done in that product liability class was tell a great story. I told the best story, and my story won. And I found out with playwriting that I could tell the best story, but do good, because I could tell my story. And if I could turn the sad things that happened in my life into something, then maybe it could help someone. And I was young, so I mean, you're 21. You don't necessarily know what it means to want to change the world, but you can make the choice at that age to say, I'm not going to do any harm. So I just chose not to do any harm.
Wow.
Yeah. I was proud of myself for that, because I had made myself miserable for 4 years. I mean, even at graduation, I'll never forget, I'm sitting at the post, major ceremony in poli-sci, and I'm sitting across from my teammate, Alex Lee. And I look at him and I look around and I reach across the desk and I'm like, who are all these people? And he looks at me and he was like, I have no idea. So both of us knew we were in the wrong place. I lucked out. I really lucked out. I was saying no quietly enough to myself that I finally just listened to myself.
What do you think where do you think that turnaround comes from? And I only ask that just in case there's people listening or watching that, like, I need to do that. Where did that courage come from? What was
There was no downside. There was literally no upside to pursuing something that made me miserable. And I had nothing to lose. I heard this really cool thing Prince said. He's like, when he was 16 years old, he was broke and he needed money. So he pulled out the yellow pages and started scanning the yellow pages for jobs. And he realized there was not a single thing in the world he wanted to do. And so he said, you know what? I got to get real good at making music. And I wasn't quite that articulate, but I think that you know yourself and you can't run away from yourself, really. You can lie a lot and for a really long time. But when push comes to shove, if you've got nothing to lose, why not? That thing in that voice in your head that says, I want to do this, Denzel Washington said it. You get that for a reason. There's a reason you want to act. There's a reason you want to tell stories. So do it. Just do it. Because the cost of not is misery and is life itself. I just think, I don't even think it's bravery. I think it's self-preservation. It's like, I had to save my sanity.
Prior to that moment of making that switch, what do you think it is? And I know this is speculation because you can't speak for everybody, but what do you think it is that prevents people from taking that leap?
It's fear in many different guises. There's, what are people going to say about me? What are my parents are going to say about me? What if I fail? That's a big one. What if I make a fool of myself? What if I'm wrong? All of that is this big bundle of scary.
Sure. That
just, it can seem insurmountable. But, if you have to choose a fear, I figure choose the fear with the most payoff, with the biggest payoff. And it has taken me 30 years to get here. But I figured out my voice. And I mean, it helps that there's just nothing else in the world I want to do. And it helps to be honest about that, because money alone is motivation enough to stay someplace unhappy. But I just don't know that the payoff is there. It's like I just saw too many people suffering and too many people regretting too much of their lives for it to be worth it to me. It just wasn't worth it. And I do think that thanks to my mom, I had a really great role model in just doing it. I also, though, had a really great role model in what happens when you don't, because I think that while I realized this morning, my mother was true to who she wanted to be. She wanted a house. She got a house. She wanted to move to America. Because we're first generation American. She was from Guyana. And
I'm sorry, from where?
Guyana.
Okay.
Yeah. And, she wanted to get her master's degree. She wanted to get her doctorate. She did all of those things. And what it cost her, I think, in blood, sweat, and tears, I'll never know, because I didn't get to find out. I didn't get to find out who she would be at this point. Sure. But I know that she picked a course for her. She picked a course for herself.
Right, sure.
And that was worth it. That was worth it. And she's got 3 kids who live on after her.
Right. Can I ask a personal question?
Sure.
Because she chose a path for you,
mm-hmm.
which is probably, given her circumstances and what she wanted, she was going to make things best for you and your siblings. And her passing at 19, was your pathways set because she was terminal, or was her passing sudden?
Her passing was sudden. She didn't tell us.
But in her mind, she knew, and I need to set this in motion now because.
Well, see, what's interesting is my mother, till the day she died, never told us what to do. She never said what you had to do except excel. Do what you want to do. Just be really good at it. So the die that was cast was not so much, this is what you're going to do. It was, whatever you do it really well so that you can be happy. I think that what her passing did for me was force me to just be more circumspect about what life's choices are.
Sure.
That's what it did for me.
So then let me ask you this. How much of you pursuing the path that she set forward to you, at what point do you realize that, because I'm imagining, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is what she wanted, and so I have to keep going with this. But at the so it wasn't that.
Because what she wanted was, she was like, my sister told me that she said once to her, if all that happens is you get a job that you love and are happy, I will be happy. That was what my mother wanted us to be happy.
Okay.
The whole lawyer thing, that was me when I was a kid, when I was a child, trying to save my mother's life.
Mm.
So I think kids do that. We think we can save the world, we can change the world. And so I had thought, I'm going to be a lawyer, because I also thought I was going to be a surgeon. And but I hated blood. I also thought I was going to be an architect, but it was boring. I thought I was going to be all these things. And, I was going to be something important so that my mom could be proud of me. But my mom was already proud of me.
And so there was no obligation.
There was no obligation. And that was funny because she was Caribbean. And so it's just like, the 3 job, 2 job, you got to have more than 1 job. It was, you didn't, I mean, I didn't tell, because we're Caribbean. I didn't tell my cousins that when I came out west after 7 years at Brown, undergrad and grad, that I wasn't in law school. I didn't tell them I was doing something different until my sister found out I was in a movie.
What was the film?
It was What Dreams May Come. Robin Williams.
Yes, I remember. I saw it in the theater.
It was my chin. I was the woman stuck in the car at the top. I got to work with Robin Williams. It was so cool. He was.
We have
so
something in
cool.
common.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Oh man! All right.
Patch Adams. I was background. It didn't mean anything. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So all right. So acting came first.
Acting came. Well, they were simultaneous.
Okay.
They were simultaneous. Right. Yeah. Because what happened was I took the playwriting class, and then we had midterms. Midterms rolled around again, and we had no actors because everybody was studying for midterms. So the whole playwriting class got drafted into the play that we were doing, and I was just bit. So technically, writing came first, but then the acting took off more quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, professor comes up. You want to be in my playwriting class.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
I write a disaster of a first play. A disaster. No, that's not true. A disaster of a second play. The first play was my circus play. And of all things, Nilo Cruz liked the concept of my play. And I was like, okay, well, all right, I'm set. But the play that I wrote for presentation in brown bags was awful. It was called Friend Boy, Friend Girl. And it was some sort of something about a guy and a girl, a white guy and a black girl who are in a situationship. And that's about all I can say about it. But it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
First draft, or did you go through multiple drafts and it's still?
Oh, multiple drafts. It was horrible. It was a horrible play.
What do you think that? What was it about it?
I didn't know what I was doing. You know, as with political science, the theory was always really interesting to me, but the craft of it, I just wasn't there yet. I wasn't there.
What were you getting wrong?
I was getting let me see, the dramatic action. What is the thing? What is that engine that really drives who needs what and how do they get it?
How did you learn that? When and how did you learn that?
I learned that 30 years later. I put down.
So 4 years ago.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you a lot. That's what I want to hear. So the circus play went on to be part of a festival, which I was so proud of. And then I wrote 2 other plays. One was this, it was a race play. And it was about a young woman.
Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Bad pun. Go.
It was about a young woman who's invited to her professor's house because he's interested in sleeping with her. But the wife is there. And so they get snowed in and it's just a confrontation about race. And then I wrote a play that took, I think it was 7 years to write. Yeah, I think it was 7 years. This ended up being it turned into a play about a family stuck in a mansion on a Caribbean island during an insurrection. And I think that image-wise, I was always very strong, but I tended to float around in stream of consciousness. And that's fine, but it doesn't propel a story forward. So it wasn't until 2017 when I wrote The Good Minister from Harare that I found what an engine actually is. The engine is what this person needs and how all of the things they do to get it, and all of the things that happen as a result of their trying to do the things that they do to get the thing that they want. And I'm so proud of myself for sticking with it, because the play works. And I was able to look back at Friend, Boyfriend, Girl, and the play about the people snowed in, and appreciate something that someone said to me, which was, you're so young to be in so much pain. And I was like, I had written in all the pain. I hadn't written the actual story. And that was the problem with Friend, Boyfriend, Girl. Lots of emotional dumping, but anchored in action. There was no action to anchor it. Yeah. So it literally took 30 years. Literally.
What is your, now you've got this point, do you have a process? Is there a process when you sit down to write? Is it when the idea comes, do you have everything thought out? Is it linear? Is it, I know what this scene is and I'll revolve around it?
It's closer to that. I'm sort of a pantser, seat of my pants.
Okay.
I've developed into a hybrid pantser and outliner. But what'll happen is a scene will come into my head, or a part of a scene will come into my head. So I'll know the two or three people talking, what they're talking about, and I just start there and then build around that. Once I've built that scene, I go back and draw sort of a very vague outline of the play. I don't delve too much into theme, because that voice and the need behind the thing that they want does dictate a lot of the early iteration of the play. Like Stone Angels, there's a scene where a woman comes home and her elderly father, who's developing dementia, doesn't want to eat, and they have a fight about eggs. And that turned into a play about failure, and the way somebody put it, my friend Bree put it, was radical acceptance. This person, you have a main character who is in limbo. She's in stasis. She has been stuck for 40 years. And she's stuck because of a wound. And she comes home and has to finally face her father and deal with this wound. And the play just sort of accretes, you write a few scenes here and there and string them together. The theme comes later.
So you study playwriting, you graduate, then what comes after?
Graduate, went to ACT, Summer Training Congress, because Paula said to. She said, June, you want to get your PhD and be a professor, that's fine, but school will be here. You need to go act. Right, so I listened to her.
This is ACT in San Francisco.
In San Francisco. And did their Summer Training Congress, went to, what was that project? At Z-Space Studio. And took a class with Eric N., which was so cool. And acted and got into an apprenticeship program the following summer at Orinda Shakes. did my first movie, What Dreams.
Yeah.
And it was, so I was there for 7 years. I was in the Bay Area for 7 years, bopping around, and got to do this really cool play. Got to do this really cool play where I had like 8 billion costume changes, and it was a Brian Freeman play. What was it called? I got to play this reverend, and it was really cool. And I got to play this little lady in a walker, and all these different. And I'll never forget Tony Saccone, the artistic director, looked at me one day. I was out in the audience, and I just come out of my third costume change, and he was like, "You need to take that show on the road," because I looked so different with each of the wigs that I had to wear. So I was there for 7 years. And then went back east for a summer, thinking I would try my hand at New York. New York was terrifying. So I spent 10 weeks and then beeline for Los Angeles. And I had to stop in San Francisco again because I got to do a film, and then went down to then came down to Los Angeles, and I've been here ever since. And I followed some really cool advice, which has held me in good stead. Fake it till you make it. My sister told me, "Look, you got to stay close to the business," and I was like, "Okay." So I pieced together my little bit of a resume and walked around to a bunch of production trailers, knocked on trailers
when you could,
when I could, when they let you in, and handed my little piece of a resume to people, and some people were like, "Get out of here!" But John McColpin, never forget him, production manager, he had this funny look on his face because he was like, "What are you doing? Give me your resume? Okay, I'll take it." He posted it on the wall, and his boss came in and was like, "Get that woman on the phone." So I got to work on my first commercial as a PA, and then got to write my first film. And I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to write a film," but I did it anyway. And, I have stuck with it. That's all. And then it's just sticking with it, honestly.
So you're in Los Angeles, and when does playwriting come back into play?
Playwriting has not gone away.
So you were writing the whole entire time?
I was writing the entire time. I was fixated on my play God's Wife. Takes place at a hostel in Venice Beach. And it's just a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, sort of a lower depths for the 90s. Then went back up north to do Whiteland. And then came back down here, and then just struggled and did all this the survival jobs that people do, and not all the survival jobs. I could never be a waiter. I was too terrified of people to be a waiter. I was, but yeah, just stuck with it.
So what was the play that kind of launched your career, if you will?
The Good Minister from Harare.
Okay, and how did that come about? What did you do? You wrote this play. You finished. Maybe you finished it. Maybe you didn't. What was the whole journey of that?
Yeah, I was hired by a director, Greg Daniel, to work on a TV show for students at a college in the middle of California, in Bakersfield. University of California, Bakersfield.
Yeah, US. Yeah.
Yeah, they had this really cool program where you could learn how to direct and stage manage and write. And what they did was they invited a playwright from in this case, Zimbabwe.
Oh, wow.
Who had a really cool play, and I was hired as an actor, and we put this play up and filmed it, and it was broadcast on PBS. I got to know this playwright and his company. It was 3 of them, and they were telling me what was happening in Zimbabwe, and I was just mad as a hornet. Mad as a hornet, because my father on my father's side, I'm Congolese, so the whole dictator thing just really pisses me off. And I decided I'm going to tell the world what's happening in Zimbabwe. And what came about was the good minister from Harare. I submitted it to the Saroyan Paul Prize, and it received an award for plays about human rights. And then
say it again, Saroyan Paul?
The Saroyan Paul Playwriting Award, Armenian American Dramatic Association does it. And yeah, they it was really funny. The woman who was giving out the prize kept calling me and said, "You're going to be at the award ceremony, right, Moni? Right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there," because there were three of us that were in the running for the final, and she was like, "Yeah, because you got to be there." And I was like, "Okay, I'll be there." Turns out I won, and that was why she needed me there. So it just sort of set me on a whole new course, because I had finally figured out that it's not just that the character feels. The character needs going back. The character needs something. And in this case, he needs to find out what happened to the son of a constituent. And it's this sort of darkly comic journey into the bureaucracy that is Zimbabwe, and just talks about all of the mess and I took as my, in fact, the play was actually done in Bulawayo in 2020, and I invited one of the guys who had come here to do the play that we had done.
Did you go?
I didn't go. I zoomed in. I couldn't go. It was the pandemic. I wasn't going to go. Yeah. So, but it was such a touchy subject that the guy that I based it on was like, "I can't do it," because Kant, the other person that the play was based on, had been arrested twice. And he was kind of a large figure in the play. And Mandla was like, "I can't take that chance. I got kids."
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that when you sit down, when you come up with your premise, or is this what is the need your starting point, or do you come up with the premise and then figure out what the need is from there?
It depends on the play.
Okay.
The need, I know what the need is. The need is for me to complain about something, because for me, plays are kind of just a complaint about something.
Sure. Okay.
And when I need to get something off my chest, I'll write a play about it.
Okay.
So figuring out how to put what I need to say in the hands and life experience of someone who has a more interesting need and voice than I do, that is actually what stimulates the play.
So I get, obviously, we'll just say protagonist, because whoever your main character is, if you will, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be the protagonist. What about the other characters? Do you have that similar approach on everybody else in the story? What do they need? After
the first draft.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll go through a draft, which is the main character. And then I'll go back and build the biographies. I build skeletal biographies along the way. But the protagonist, the antagonist, everybody gets the full fleshing out after I've done that first pass, where I know where this protagonist, where this main character is going.
Sure. What do those skeletal biographies look like? What do they include? How detailed? Or since it's skeletal, there may not be this much detail. So what are we looking at? Just out of curiosity.
I do a whole it's like a narrative. It's in prose.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And it starts with a name, date of birth, and then what they want in life, and then comes the why they want the thing that they want, what damage it is that they're feeding or easing, which is their why, which drives their why. And those tend to be pretty extensive, pretty detailed. The main character isn't as well, that's not true. The main character, I'm more inclined to do a deep dive with them about halfway through the play, because at about halfway through the play I forget, oh gosh, where was this going? Yeah But that's what I mean about being sort of a hybrid pantser.
No, but I mean, this is so. It's fascinating, that aspect that there's certain things that you hear that writers do, where they'll write out the 32 character traits or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that's unnecessary, but when you set out their motivation in life, that to me seems like it's much more important than what ingredients they want on their pizza, how they, you know what I mean? How they vote politically, how they feel about this issue.
Unless it actually informs their want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I find the same thing. That's more helpful if you're an actor. Sure. What they want on their pizza, unless there's a damn good why that they want anchovies that has to do with, going fishing and falling off the boat, and being traumatized. I don't, and then wanting to get the fish back. I don't know. But yeah, I have the same thing. It's like, that's the kind of thing I save for if I'm building a character sketch as an actor. Yeah. No, I love it. It seems like it's so problem solving, if you will. It's just like, it seems like, well, it's like the simplest thing that I did all this other work that I didn't necessarily need to do. And all I needed was this motivation, and what they want in life, or what their end goal is. And it's just, wow. And I haven't heard that before. It's just, I haven't, or maybe I kind of like it. It is kind of the backward way to go about it. It is sort of the back door, because I do think you want to flesh out who that person is.
Sure.
But I think that so much of who that person is based on their wounds.
100%. Yeah. And by finding that, but it's not even back door. It's like, it's you establish this, and it says so much more. You're working, it's not even, where the other stuff is like, oh, what do they like? How do they like this? And then you're working forward, but you're deconstructing, working backwards. When you find that motivation, then you can discover all those other things. And I think that's...
It's a little bit easier. It makes it a little easier for me. It may not work for other people, though.
I don't think they realize it. It's like they struggle, and all those road bumps that they hit is because they don't.
Because they don't know.
Because we, as actors, we're always like, well, what does the character want? What does the character want? Whereas in playwriting, we're not looking at that.
Mm-mm.
We're looking, oh, well, it's the character's behavior. Sure, that's true, 100%. But where does that behavior come from? Right. And what you just pointed out seems like an easy fix, if you will.
It is very helpful, definitely.
No, and so I don't write as much as I should, but now it's like, now I have something that I can pinpoint. I can go back and I can look at every single character that I've written, and what do they want, and now it's going to flesh out all the things that I may have missed.
Yeah.
Where these gaps are, and I think that's a brilliant problem solver.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want a total turn into a different place. And one of the things that stood out in your bio with me, and just because I adore them to no ends, is the blank.
Mm-hmm.
The living. I've only seen one living room series, and it was Stephen Kaplan who had submitted to my Play Noir Festival, but he had written this. Oh, I always forget the brother's name. It was basically about the Bronte sisters. But it was about the brother.
Oh yeah.
And I went and saw. It's so good.
Oh man.
But anyways, I didn't get to talk to Stephen about his experience, but I really want, because I adore the Blank Theater. I love the Young Playwrights Festival.
Mm-hmm.
What's your experience? What was the process? How did you submit? What do they ask for? Things like that. Because I would encourage anybody to submit to that, especially whether they're whatever stage that they're at as far as playwriting goes.
Yeah.
And the experience that you had.
I kind of lucked out. I walked up to Daniel Henning one day, back when he was the artistic director.
Oh, is he not with them?
He's not there anymore. No, but yeah, good people. I was just, Noah Wiley's at your theater. I want to work at your theater. And I took a class, was invited to help out, became a producer there for the living room series, and very quickly, because they're always looking for help. They were always looking for help, and finally got up the gumption to submit something. Not until I've done two blank series. Yeah, and the first time was a wonderful experience with a play that was way too long, and the second time was with a musical, and that was much more successful. But the process is, and I don't know where they are with the living room series now, because Young Playwrights is their focus these days. But honestly, you just submit.
Okay,
you just submit.
Is it open submission? And what I mean by that, there's no schedule. It's like, it's June, so you just submit, and then maybe you'll get a call next month or something like that.
Exactly. It's just the waiting time is generally about 2 months, so it's not too bad. It's not too bad, because they have when they were doing it, at least I don't know where they're at now, but they had a really big reading cohort. Sure.
And just for everybody who's watching or listening, just the living room series is basically it's a stage reading. It's rehearsed and performed, but the actors have their scripts in hand, and it's a great opportunity for people to come and catch new plays and stuff like that. But it's phenomenal. I highly recommend that you submit to it. Yeah,
it's awesome.
So is it? It's not a workshop by any means. You're not like workshopping anything, right? It's
you have the opportunity to do edits, because you have about a 2 week rehearsal process. So during that time, edits will inevitably leak into the process, but it's not an extensive workshopping process.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're basically submitting something that's doesn't have to be polished, but it should be finished, obviously.
What's interesting is yes and no.
Okay. All right.
Because finished is so relative.
Yeah.
If the play is at a place where you need an outside eye, send it. That's the best way to think about it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, so in the two experiences you had, what did you walk away with? Did you walk away with that works, or is that I got to fix some stuff? And then what happened after?
Mm-hmm. Both times I came away with a lot. Okay. The first time I learned, it's too long, but the emotion works.
Okay. The
second time, oh wow, this actually works. That was, especially because it was a musical, that was so encouraging. It was like a cast of like 10 people, And people were talking about it for a while after, so I think the way they build the way they handle them, there's just there's a sensitivity to the way they handle plays at the blank that just you come away, even if you're not necessarily going to do anything with the play, you feel as though you have achieved quite a lot, and not just because it went up. Not just because it went up. You learn, they get the kinds of directors who will teach you what in your play works and what can you use a little bit of zhuzhing. And that is so incredibly helpful.
What's that collaboration like when your play gets in, and it's going through the rehearsal process? I'm assuming you're there for this, or zooming in if you're out of. So, are they asking questions? Are they saying, "I don't see this"? Can we
questions? It's more. What does this mean? What did you want to achieve with this? What would you like to come away with as a result of this? They ask a lot of questions.
What's that answer usually? I guess it depends on the piece.
It depends on the piece, yeah. Like with the one, it was with the musical. It was, I just want to know if this thing works.
Right. Are they asking because they don't know, or are they asking because they want to honor what you're...
That they want to honor what they want to know what you're trying to get out of this.
Okay.
And I'm suddenly realizing when people ask you that on an application, they honestly want to know. They honestly want to know, how can we be of help? How will this process help you with this play? Yeah.
Any horror stories? I don't mean play-wise that you've written. I mean just experiences in, productions, submissions, things like, oh yeah, I had this one, just avoid this. And here's a red flag, avoid things like this, just out of curiosity. Because it sounds like you've had such wonderful experiences. I'm curious.
Really lucky. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had, but I don't think I've never had a bad experience. I do remember working with a director once who was very mean. And I think that the red flag for me was he made my actor cry. And it's like a director who makes an actor cry because they can, not because you just found the moment and I really need you to go there. But it's just, they're just mean. There's no room for it.
So it's not coming from a place of like, I need you to get somewhere. I'm going to do this as a ploy. It's not like Gene Wilder and the kid who played Charlie Bucket. I'm going to be mean to you the whole time just for that ending moment.
Just to get that moment, right. No, it's not that. It's literally because they don't know how to be kind. And I think that what I did learn from that was, as a director, you are responsible for yourself, and you are responsible for a safe space, making a safe space. And so what I appreciated and learned from this particular director was never to do that to anyone. And it was the kind of thing where it was like, okay, now you're doing it to me. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But other than that one experience, and there it was clearly there was something going on there with that person. But I've never really had a bad experience.
Do you have a best experience?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's a toss-up. I got to go to, this is a toss-up. There was Ojai Playwrights last year. They just got a new artistic director, Jeremy, and he is like, I don't know. It's like, have you ever met somebody who just believes in people simply because they exist?
Maybe one or two.
That's Jeremy. And he has just this heart that just, he has changed the way the conference works, what they want people to come away with, and opened up the process so that more people feel welcomed and engaged. And I don't know, it was just 5 days of bliss. I just, you feel like he makes you feel like you can do anything. He makes you feel like you're really good at this. And that is so healing for a writer. To spend 5 days being told, I couldn't stay for the whole week because I was going to Edinburgh, but for the whole 2 weeks rather. When someone tells you you can do this, and they're looking you in the eyes, and you know that they're not messing with you, they really mean it. It makes your work so much better. You feel so much more courageous. I felt so vulnerable, and I felt so brave. And I think those two things made this play 10 times better. There was that, and then there was getting to work with Taylor Reynolds. I went back to the Cell Theater. I got to work at the Cell Theater. They have a...
Where's that at?
That's in New York.
Okay.
They have this really cool residency where you spend 2 weeks with a director and actors, just workshopping your play. And their whole staff, there are 3 of them, and the whole staff is just, it's that same thing where we think this is a really cool play. We think this play has legs. We think this play has something to say. And we want to give you the best actors and the best director and the best time. And you have all of those things, and you walk away with another chapter in your play.
Is this final draft point, like the as far as I'm concerned, this is finished, or is this like there's some things I know I need, but I don't know quite how to get there.
Yeah, it's that.
So they see the potential of the piece, but and they're there to help facilitate it.
Facilitate, yeah. Oh, yes, there's that, but there's also the third experience is with this dude, Michael Matthews. He's a director here in Los Angeles. He's just a genius. He's a genius. And he took a play of mine, a two-hander, and turned it into...
The second time I've heard that phrase. I've never heard it before. Jenny dropped it the other day. I'm like,
really?
Yes, I've never heard this. So I digress. Keep going.
He made this play sing, and he put it in a really cool environment. And we took it to Edinburgh, and then we got to go to London with it because it was his dramaturgy was so good. Yeah.
What about it? What made it so good? Just out of curiosity, if you can specify or pick out certain things.
I think his understanding of human nature informs a very gentle interrogation of motivation. He starts with love. People do something, there has to be love in a play. People have to, relationships are what are paramount. And if there's not love in the play, and there's not love between two people, then why are they there together? It may be a love that has been disappointed or betrayed or any number of things, but it starts with love. And when you start there, and the ways that love fails, and the ways that love gets perverted, it opens up this whole other part of your brain. It's just really cool. He's a genius.
You mentioned Ojai,
Yeah.
which sparked me to ask. Because everybody knows Edinburgh, they know Hollywood Fringe, they know New York, Broadway, Off-Broadway, et cetera, et cetera. Outside of Ojai, are there markets out there that a lot of people aren't aware of that you think that you should really know this?
Yeah.
Where it's like your work gets seen, people show up, this is a great opportunity, things like that.
Yeah. Ojai, I am a theater company. They do such exciting work. And their literary manager, Celia Mandela Rivera, she's so smart. But their whole operation is their jam is new plays, and they turn out, I think it's 4 productions a year, and the work is stellar. Their work is stellar.
That's it.
Yeah, they're over at Atwater.
Thank you. Yeah. I've a few playwrights, and the stuff that I've seen from the playwrights that have come in, just some good stuff.
Some good stuff. Echo Theater is another one.
Okay.
Yeah, Playwrights Arena. There's so many. You know, it was actually Daniel who said that there's so much good little theater in Los Angeles that nobody knows about. You know, Los Angeles gets sort of this bad rap, I think.
We talked about that the other day, yeah.
And it's got such an exciting scene.
Do you think that's new, or do you think it's always been? Because we had this discussion. I had this discussion with Jenny.
Yeah.
Because, and again, sorry for everybody that's listening that might find this repetitive, but back in the day, for when I moved here, you couldn't get people to go to the theater. I didn't mind it. I would go, but usually what I came away with is it's usually some actor who wants to showcase his work, so he wrote something for himself,
right.
He directed it, and he put himself in it. Where my take was always just go find a different piece, pay for the royalties, and have somebody else produce and direct it, or if you produce it and have somebody else direct it, but don't
But don't do all of it.
Exactly. And I think that's where, to me, that's where I think a lot of LA theater got a bad rap. But that's me.
What happened. I do think that's what happened, because if you want to do theater, you go to New York.
Right. Right.
But I think it's that vanity thing, the vanity production. But The Matrix. I forgot about Rogue Machine.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so cool. And they just fully embraced their new artistic director, Guillermo. Their Rogue Machine, Ayama, Ojai, Echo, Lower Depths. These are...
Where's Lower Depths?
Lower Depths, they're itinerant, but they... do they have... I don't know if they have... I don't know what they're doing this year. They kind of... they did a really cool Three Sisters that took place in the Caribbean. Loved it. But they're people that are doing not vanity projects. And they're really thought-provoking. There's really thought-provoking. Oh, collaborative artists. Oh my God. Collaborative artists did this. They have this series right now going, which is, it's just shows that are under construction. I know I'm mistaking that for another theater company.
I think Road does.
Road does under construction, but collaborative art, Collab, does really cool plays, particularly with artists of color. But I think we've made up for lost time.
Okay.
I really do. I just saw the civility of... Oh, I'm gonna botch it. Colony is doing it. Just did it. A new musical. Exciting new musical. Folk musical. Country musical, yeah.
So Colony's back up and running then, is what you're saying. I did not know this.
Yeah. They Heather Provost is now, I think she's the artistic director there.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Colony Theater is a location in Burbank, California that I think was down for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. They got this, but their space is gorgeous and they're up and running again. Yeah, it's exciting.
What not what, rather who? No. What playwrights inspire you? Who do you draw from anybody? Is there somebody out there that you like? This is the work I like. I like this particular playwright stuff, and this is what motivates me or inspires me.
Old guard, Beckett, Fugard, even though he pisses me off.
Why is that? Well, finish the list, then
Okay,
we'll go.
yeah, we'll go back. Okay.
Then we'll go
So
back.
Beckett, O'Neill,
Okay.
Fugard, Dominique Morisot, Alicia Harris. Isgot is stunning. It's just so good. It's stupid. And Susan Laurie Parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why does I'm sorry, say his name again?
That's old Fugard.
Yeah. Why does he piss you off?
Well, I was so psyched when I first came across his work. He's South African. And, he deals with race and gender and mostly race. And, he did The Boy, what's it called? Master Carryl and the Boys.
Yep.
Yeah. And he has this one play, Mecca, where these two guys are they're on the remains of their stuff. They're just stuck with their stuff, and they're trying to get to a circus, and it's just really cool. And then I realized that he has a romantic idea of blackness that, while progressive for his day, is reductive. So I tend to write a lot of plays in response to him. But, he just pisses me off, though. Makes me so mad.
Why Beckett?
It was brilliant. He was just brilliant.
Any particular piece that's...
I think probably my favorite. Which one is my favorite? I'm not going to say Gatto because everybody says that. But I think the one happy day. Harold Pinter is another one, even though he doesn't like black people. But I
appreciate Pinter for his going against structure.
Yes.
For you.
Exactly.
Figured out.
Old Times is one of the best plays ever. But with Beckett, it's just, I think the plays are so difficult and so rewarding because they're so difficult. Because if you stick with them, Crap's Last Tape, yeah.
I'm not familiar with it, so forgive me. So
somebody just showed me something called Ohio Requiem. Something like Ohio Requiem. And it's just this guy reading about the death of a loved one. And he's reading to himself. And you're just like, oh my God, that's so good.
What is it about? What is it about? I think I'm probably been saying it wrong the whole time. What is it about? What's the draw of Godot? I revisited this. I finally got a copy. I'm like, I got to get it. And then I'm like, I'm reading it. I'm like, maybe I'm just dense.
I don't think so. I think
I just don't see the brilliance in it. I'm like,
did you ever want something and feel like God was laughing at you?
I can't say that I have. I can't say that I have because to me that to unpack that is that I'm not aspiring or doing my part.
That's fair. I can hear that.
You know,
I hear that.
that's on me.
I hear that.
That's on me.
I totally
I
hear
can't
that.
blame somebody. I can't blame some other force. And I've had this argument a zillion times with somebody. It's like, you're not owed anything. Nobody owes you anything. If you want it, what are you sacrificing? What are you compromising? What's the trade-off that you're willing to give in order to achieve this?
But what if you give everything and you still don't get it?
Do we always give everything? I mean, what is that?
Death.
Fair enough. I forgot the terminology. It's like there's this thing where it's like I think it's 1% or 2%, no, 1% or 10% of the population are the achievers. There's that brilliance behind it. That that 1 or 10% are going to achieve it, and it's based on how many people. It's based on population, and it's I can't remember the terminology, but it's like, okay, I can see that. You know, do I think that there's a way to cheat the system, to game the system? Probably. But as far as the real talent is distributed, it only falls on a certain amount.
But
and then
talent is only part of it. Persistence.
You want, yes.
Determination.
Yes.
Honesty.
With yourself. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's essentially what's happening in Godot, however the hell.
Sure. Yeah.
I keep hearing different.
No, 100%.
You know, it's that I think that all of his what I love about him is the ridiculousness of our quests. And that play in particular sears our folly in, maybe it is relying on this thing outside of ourselves to get the thing that we want most. And I think these two guys just sitting around trying to make a game of it, and then trying to do it for real, and then giving up, and then not being able to bring themselves to leave. That's life to me, man.
Sure. Okay.
You know?
Well, I go back and there's, I'm going to say forced. You're forced to read some of the greats, and you go back, and I'm just like, was it great for the time?
For the time.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like Endgame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But what's fun about, well, not fun, because it's not a fun play, but I think the mini wars, like Endgame is just a bunch of mini wars, right? Okay. And that, again, it just speaks to, and I don't want to say the human condition because it's so vague and pretentious.
Right. Yeah.
But this idea of, I want this, and I want this, and I feel like pain. No, this is what I want to say. With Endgame, being in love with the not having, being in love with the pain of not having, I think is part of what's so stupid about people.
Right.
We're stupid. We're stupid. We do stupid things. We do cruel things. And nobody gets out alive. And we're just playing these games with each other and with ourselves. I don't know. There's something so permanent about that to me, enduring about that to me.
Well, maybe that's also, I'm like, because again, I'm tapping into college, and I'm tapping into plays that I've read that I just don't see the draw. And I think there's a fine line between reading something. So here, I'm not a fan of Carol Churchill.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen her stuff, but I've read it.
Yeah.
I've read these things, but I haven't seen it. I think there's a fine line between reading a piece and seeing a piece.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's where my ignorance comes in, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think it's ignorance, though. I mean, because something either hits you or it doesn't, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think one of the most woeful things about our educational system is we force feed people things, and then say, well, if you don't like it, you just didn't get it.
Right.
And that's not true. That's just not true. It's like if it doesn't speak to you, it doesn't speak to you. That's legit. That's just legit.
Yeah.
But if you force something down someone's throat and then they're like, well, so isn't it obvious?
Well, that's just resentment at that point. I'm not going to like it because you pushed it.
Because you pushed it on me. It's like, no. You know? I've always been wary of that. Like, I had one of the best English teachers because it was English class, so you had to do it. You had to be there.
Right.
But she managed to make plays fun. And when you make reading fun, when you make literature fun, then all of a sudden you're not spoon-fed.
Right,
you're not being force-fed your medicine. And then you're free to go and roam and do the stuff do the exploring yourself.
Yeah.
But we don't do that here. We make people do things and then we wonder why they don't like them. It's so tragic. Because there's so much good stuff out there.
Going back to LA theater and people not knowing. What are you working on right now?
I am so there's 3 things happening. I have a play going up, play for young audiences going up in November. That's done. I have a reading of a play for young audiences. I think it's done. That goes up on the 23rd and the 24th. And then I'm rewriting the last part of Stone Angels because I'm hoping to get sort of an off-night production of it. And I'm contemplating rewriting a part of a play about a woman who wakes up in what is either purgatory or a mental hospital. And I'm
they one and the same.
well,
or at least for the person who's there.
for the person who's there, yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. Now, wait. So, forgive me and correct me if I'm wrong again. Don't you have something opening soon as well at the end of the month?
Yeah. That's
okay.
at the Colony. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay. So
in November though.
In November.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like beginning of November.
November 9th.
All
I'm
right.
really excited about it.
And the title again?
It's called The Girl Who Made the Milky Way.
Nice. And are tickets available yet?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure.
Imagine Theater.
All right. We'll make sure that we include the ticket link down below in the show notes. Where can people find your work?
Right now?
Yeah. I mean, is it out? I mean, whether that's on stage, or whether that's publications, whether that's New Play Exchange, anything like that.
New Play Exchange. You can find my plays on New Play Exchange. And I'm always squawking about them on Instagram. Yeah.
And that's my next question. Are you on the socials?
I'm so on the socials. I love the socials, particularly Instagram, because it's like, okay, June's got a hot take today. I'm mad about something.
Do you want to share those what are they called?
The handle?
Yes. Like, why am I drawing a blank on what that's called? I'm like, it's not links. Yes. You want to share those handles? My
Instagram handle is June Carryl, JUNECARRYL, at June Carryl. And that's kind of because I kind of I had to run away from X. I was like,
I avoid them all. I really shouldn't. I have to. I think I've got like 6 Instagram accounts that I'm terrible. I've gotten really terrible. I've just avoided socials. Like there's no tomorrow. and including this one. And so I owe people a huge apology.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, June, I apologize for last weekend.
Oh my gosh, it's so totally okay.
I can say that I'm glad that it happened today because I don't think we would have gotten the brilliance that I like. This is probably one of the, forgive me, past guess. We delved into a lot of stuff that we don't usually get to. There was a great human story behind this. There's some great information, some great insight, and I probably could have gone for another hour and a half.
Oh, thank you. This was really fun.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share the show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, until we see each other again, keep writing.